Hi, welcome to webd169. My name is David Taniguchi. This is our live session that we end up having on Monday nights. Many of you may have not have gotten the notice, so you should probably be seeing this after Monday. I'm trying to record all of our sessions so that you'll be able to go ahead and learn some material afterwards. What I'd like to do with this course is mainly use more of the flipped classroom approach. If you know of a normal classroom that you go to lecture, you learn the material, and you go home and you do your homework. Well, now that we end up having videos available like YouTube and things like that, it's probably better to watch a video of the lecture and learn the material, and then you use the classroom time to actually do the homework or to ask questions. If you think of it this way, let's say when you were in school and you went to school and you went to learn math, the instructor taught you how to do calculus or things like that, and then you had to do your homework. And you came back home and you asked your parents, hey, how do you do this calculus problem? And your parents are like, I don't know, I did that a long time ago, I really don't remember. So instead, since we can end up having these videos, if you end up going through and imagine that same calculus class, but you got to watch a video of the calculus lecture that was taking place. You could rewind it, watch it multiple times. If you forgot what they said, you could, watch it over and over again in slow-mo or whatever you'd like to do in order to understand the material. And if you had problems with it and you're trying to do your homework, if you did your homework in class, then you could ask the instructor, I know you talked about step 1 and step 2, but I'm really having trouble. Where am I going wrong? And the instructor will be able to help you because the instructor knows the material. So that's what we're going to be doing in this course. And this course is covering website development using CMS. CMS stands for Content Management Systems. And I'm going to be teaching this course mainly using WordPress. There's many different content management systems out there. There's Drupal, there's Joomla. There's many different things you can end up using. However, WordPress seems like the easiest and simplest for me to explain some of the concepts used with content management systems on how to set them up, how to configure them so that you can end up having some plugins to add your own code, and also to put some design themes on so it could look the way you want to. If you just joined, I kind of heard a chime come in. Go ahead and type your name in, your first and last name, into the chat room, and I can give you attendance points for just showing up. Now, a couple things that we're going to be working with is getting into Blackboard itself. So if you haven't done so already, I'm going to have most of the material available within Blackboard. So what I'd like you to do, oops, let me get to the right area. What I'd like you to do is go to Blackboard, which is at sdccd.blackboard.com, and it'll take you to a site where you could put in your username and password. Your username will be your CSID, and your password is your 8-digit birthday, 2-digit month, 2-digit day, and 4-digit year. Once you log in, you'll be able to see this main page that's up here, and it'll have a list of courses on the right. If you scroll to where you can end up seeing where it says Spring 2019, webd169, and it has our CRN, which is 76979. Click there, and that'll take you into the course. Let me move this over for a second. All right. Once you're in the course, I actually have an intro video for you that I explain most of the items that are available to you here, that tells you a little bit more about the left nav of what I contain in here in terms of announcements, the virtual live classroom, which you're looking at right now. And I'm going to skim through this a little bit. There's a couple things I want you to see. One, if you're going to try to attend the next live virtual classroom, just log into Blackboard, you can click here on the live virtual classroom, and it'll take you to a link that will install Zoom for you. Just follow the steps. You can almost say okay to all of it. And from there, you should be able to attend our virtual session. The other thing I'd like to point out to you on this list is this link down here that says class videos playlist. So in the future, if you end up coming back and you say something like, oh my gosh, I missed the lecture on Monday, or I had some questions and I think somebody covered it. If you click on class videos here, it'll take you to a YouTube playlist where I'm going to provide a link to all the different videos that I'm doing for this particular semester. So as we go through, you'll see that I have this video for week 0 that was before this particular week, where I end up talking about a little bit of brief introduction about myself and a little bit about how to get into Blackboard. That's the next one. And these 3 over here pretty much cover the syllabus and how we're going to, so the items that we're going to be covering in this course. Once you enter in the site, what I want to do is I want to take you and give you a brief introduction of what we're going to be covering in class, which is the installation of WordPress itself. And just to brief some items that are in WordPress, there's a wordpress.com site, that's this one here, and there's a wordpress.org site. WordPress.com is mainly used for non-technical people that want to use a blog site and things like that. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using more of the wordpress.org site for developers. Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm going to put some of you on mute. I'm just putting that there. If you'd like to talk, there's a little button that should show up on your area that shows a little microphone. If you want to talk, go ahead and click on that mute button. It should be able to allow you to speak. I mean, unmute, I should say. So from there, what I want to do is I want to show you a little bit about what the goal of this project is in terms of running WordPress. If you just logged in, I have a note here on the right describing that this class is being recorded, and to type your first and last name in the chat room, and you'll get attendance points for it, for just showing up over here. All right. Now, I covered this over in the syllabus, but I'm going to bring it back again just to give you guys an idea of some areas we're going to be covering. I'm going to go towards what you're going to need. Should organize this a little bit better, but what you're going to need in this course is you're going to need a virtual web server, and you're going to need a text editor. So virtual web server, that's these guys right here. So if you're on Windows, I recommend that you install XAMPP or XAMPP, or as I found out recently, I've been pronouncing it wrong the whole time, the website calls it XAMPP. If you're using a Mac, I recommend using MAMP. And I'll explain a little bit a few of these items a little bit later in some of the videos that we end up having. You'll also need a text editor. You could use Dreamweaver, but what's been popular lately is Brackets. It's free, and you'll be able to go ahead and use that to edit some HTML and CSS and JavaScript that we might be using in the course. And you can get to that by going to brackets.io. You're also going to need an FTP client, File Transfer Protocol client. I thought I put it on here, but FileZilla is going to be the product that you're going to mainly use to move files back and forth. You're also going to need a remote hosting service. There's some free ones available. Paid ones are good, especially if you're going to be getting into the web development world and you probably want to publish your own sites. But for this course, you can end up using some free items. And let's see, what else will you need? I also recommend that you install something called Jing, and let me go pull that up for you really quick. Oops, not Jingle Bells. Should be able to get there from jing.com. Oops, that's not right. Screen capture, I thought I had Jing on here. TechSmith has a product called Jing that's very easy to use, and I thought I had a link to it. I know how to get there. Hold on. We'll go from the Blackboard site. So TechSmith.com screen capture. Oh my gosh, did they take it away from me? One second. Oh no. Well, there used to be a product called Jing. And I think they may be forcing you to use Snagit instead. But you will need some kind of screen capture program. What'll happen is if you end up capturing some of the items that you have, you could share your screen with me, which is a lot easier than saying that thingy on the right looks funny. If you can end up giving me a screen capture of what you're looking at, then I can actually apply it and answer your questions. All right. A few of you that just came in, once again, this class is being recorded at this moment, and we'll be able to watch it later. So please type in your first and last name in the chat so you can get some attendance points. And I'm going to check really quick to see if there's any questions at this time. No, it looks like we're okay. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to show you a brief demonstration of some of the things we're going to be covering. One, I'm going to be using a virtual web host called XAMPP. It's on my system, and I'm going to show you a little bit about how it works. So when you download this XAMPP, think of it like I'm downloading a web server onto my laptop. And normally if I end up trying to go to a web server, let's say I want this web server that I'm going to called localhost. If I try to go there, it's not going to find anything. It says I can't find a site. I don't see a site on your local laptop. Basically what it's doing is it's saying, go and look for a website right on the same computer you're on. And since I don't have a web server, nothing happens. So instead, I've got this control panel for XAMPP. And now what I could do is I can end up turning on this web server called Apache. And once I turn that on, if I try to go to localhost, and localhost again is just saying, look at yourself and find out if you have any web server or any information on here, come back, and it comes back and it says, oh, looks like you've got a website called XAMPP, and it's giving me a display message. Now, this also includes a database that's on the web server called MariaDB, which used to be called MySQL. Usually you can end up getting there from this tool called phpMyAdmin. But if I click on this right now and I try to go to phpMyAdmin, it's saying access denied. Now why is that? Well, it's because it's as if you have a database on the virtual web server, but the database is not turned on. It's not activated just yet. So what I normally do is I turn on both Apache and MySQL at the same time. By doing that, I can go to this site. Now when I hit enter, it actually can connect to the database and show me what's on the inside of the database. Again, if this is overwhelming, don't worry about it. I'm going to cover a lot more of this later. I just kind of want to give you a brief introduction about how things work onto the system. All right, so now that I've got this virtual web host at localhost, what I've done already, and we're going to do this in class, is we're going to go to our own computer on our C drive, and this folder called XAMPP is as if that whole folder is my web server. And inside of that is a folder called htdocs, and this is the root directory of my site. Just to prove it, I can end up going over here and I could create a hello.html page. Just make a, just call it hello. And I can open that up in a text editor. And I'll put in just some, I know it's not proper HTML, but I can end up saying welcome to XAMPP for webd169. Oops, I need to save that as a text file. Let me try that again. Yeah, I want this one. So I'm going to remove this other guy. So I've got a file that should say welcome to XAMPP for webd169. So to get there, I'm going to go to localhost. And whatever I had in my htdocs folder should show up here. So that's a relationship between my virtual web server, which is this XAMPP, and anything in the folder of htdocs will be my website that I could display any items that I want to. Now, if you notice, there's more than just this hello.html. I preloaded another folder called webd169. So I'm making a subfolder called webd169. And inside of that, I've already pre-installed WordPress in another folder below that. So how do I get to this area? Well, I just need to go ahead and take the path that I had. If this is my localhost destination, then I can paste it here. I got to get the slashes right, though. There are all forward slashes there. When I hit return, that'll take me to my WordPress site. Okay. And if I wanted to administer it, I'd say wp-admin. And I already loaded this on from the database to where I have admin as my username and password. And now I can control some of the control panels for my WordPress site back here and go to the front end and see what the front end looks like. And we're going to go through and install a new theme and a new plugin. We'll show you some different techniques on getting that administered. That's mainly the first half of the class where we're going to be loading on WordPress and a plugin and a theme. Let me demonstrate those really quick too. So I want my site to look a little bit different. I'm going to go to Appearance. I'm going to go to Themes. I'm going to look for maybe something that shows animal. No, maybe not. It's got to give me something. Green theme? Oh, come on. There's got to be something available for me. Add new. And I was searching in the wrong place, so I wanted to search here for animal. There we go. So I can end up getting a theme, and I could say, I want to install this one. So I'll go ahead and install that. I'll activate it. Now when I go to the front end of my site looks a lot different. Still shows a hello world, but it ends up having a slightly different theme. As far as plugins are concerned, I can actually go to the plugin area. This is the easy way to add new. And I could choose from a number of different plugins that are available. BuddyPress, different items like that. I'm going to try to find something else here. Contact Form 7 is pretty popular, so I'll install that. Activate it. Now I've got a contact form available, and you may need to read some instructions on how to use it, where to place your form, but then you'll be able to use this particular plugin to create an online form that your users can type in information and send an email out to you. So this is the first half of the class, like I mentioned, just to go ahead and install WordPress on your local system, be able to configure it, be able to know how to administer it, understand a little bit more about the file system that's constructing it back here that we're looking at. Like, what does it mean when I'm looking at this WP content area? This section here is the area where we're going to be putting in any of the changes that we have for WordPress. All the other areas like WP admin and WP include, this is part of the WordPress core, and in general you should not touch any of the files that are on the inside of that. The only files you want to change are within this WP-content. And again, we're going to go into more detail on that. Later on, the second half of the course, what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to create our own custom theme. We're going to take an HTML page and we're going to convert it into a theme and try to change the nav bar so that it can be controlled by WordPress. The side nav will be controlled by WordPress, so we could add plugins and so on. And any of the posts will be injected into your HTML page. So we're going to take a design of your HTML page, slice it up, turn it into a WordPress site, and move forward. Towards the end of the class, there's only a couple weeks that we have that we will be covering how to create plugins. Plugins are a little bit more complicated because they require some skills in PHP. But you can add a bunch of functionality to your WordPress site. For example, if you end up finding a plugin, that's the best to use because somebody actually went through the pain of debugging your features that you wanted to add into plugin. But maybe that's not exactly what you want, or you want to have your own custom plugin. We'll be able to create our own plugin for adding on a shortcode, and it'll put in your signature at the bottom. So all you need to do is say square bracket, signed square bracket. It'll run this plugin, and it'll put in your name and your address and phone number anywhere you have it on your WordPress site. So we're going to add some functionality towards the end of the course. All right, back to how these things are constructed. Now, I was looking at this back end of the site for WordPress. Now, WordPress is constructed using some code from PHP, which is a server-side scripting language, and it's also talking to a database, the MySQL database that I was mentioning before. So why is it that I need these items? Well, if I end up having a PHP page, let's say this one called index.php, and if I open that one up directly into a web browser, let me see if I could find a way to open it up in, let's say, Internet Explorer. So I'm trying to, well, let me see if I can show a different way. Well, That's a README file. I don't want that one. If I could open it with Chrome, it might be a little better. I always want to open it that way, but I'll just do it this way. So as you can see, I opened it in Chrome. When I went directly from the file system to the browser, I did not use a web server at all. When I went along this path, it just sent me the text from that file. It didn't process any of my PHP. So now I need a web server in order to have the server-side scripting language run, in order for it to run the command that says, I want to define this theme, run this PHP, and require that I insert this WB blog header. So if I go to the exact same page, but through the web browser, and remember I was saying this whole path is like going into http://localhost. If I did that same thing this way, it actually renders my WordPress site. So once again, I opened up the same file, but I went two different ways. One way I opened it up directly into the web browser, which only just sent the text to the web browser. And the other way around is I went through this virtual web server that's running Apache and MySQL in order to get to the site. Now, as I mentioned before, that WordPress is using PHP for the server-side scripting language, plus it's using the database. And I demonstrated how I turn on the database right here. So what if I turn this off? So the database is shut down. So that means when I go to this website, great, I could run the PHP, but when the PHP tries to talk to the database, it's going to get lost. It won't be able to find anything. So now when I run it again, you'll see that I'm trying to run this PHP, but since I don't have a database connection, it breaks the site. Now, a lot of this will make more sense as we go through the course, especially when I cover the very first few lectures, which is an introduction to web development. And to me, if this is your first web development class, I'm sure you're going to be a little bit confused and say, oh my gosh, you're giving me too much information. But don't worry, I'll be able to walk you through a lot of these items using some of the presentations that I have for you. And I will go there right as well. Okay. All right. So let me pause here for a second. Is there any questions you guys have online of what I've covered? And if you just came in a little bit later, please type your first and last name in the chat room, and I could actually give you some attendance points for doing that.
Hey, can you hear me, David?
Yes.
Hey, yeah, I did come in a little bit late, and you were already inside of your install of what is this?
XAMPP?
Not XAMPP. The other the program that you installed inside of XAMPP.
WordPress?
WordPress, yeah. Did you have everyone installed it at the beginning, or were you just opening it up and walking us through?
Oh, I just opened it up and walking you through just as a demonstration. I'm going to go step by step in terms of the first few weeks is the installation of XAMPP, the installation of WordPress,
Okay.
How to set up the database. I'm going to walk the first half of the semester is mainly trying to do a basic installation and how to understand how WordPress is constructed.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Oh, I accidentally just texted you back.
Okay.
Instead of.
Let's see. Let me check the chats. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay. All right. And everything that I've covered so far, even if you came in late, I am recording this entire session. So after we get off, I'm going to save this and I'm going to put it up on YouTube. And once again, on the left-hand side, you should be able to go to this class videos playlist, and under here there'll be another link down here showing, I guess, week 1 part 4 of our discussion. Most of the lectures will probably be shorter going forward, and the reason why is because I described this earlier, I am using a flipped classroom approach. I'm trying to give you all the material that you need online, and we're going to use these live virtual classroom sessions to answer any of the questions you might have for some of the course areas. So for now, I think this is pretty a brief introduction for you, and mainly I just want to make sure you're able to get into Blackboard. Anybody have any questions so far in terms of what I'm going to be covering?
I'm good so far.
Okay. All right. So I can keep this this session pretty short. If you have any items that you want to discuss, feel free to go to the discussion board. You can end up posting any of your questions, general questions, over in the Q&A forum. And you can just go ahead and create a thread, put in the topic you want to talk about, and submit it up here. And then we'll be able to share it as a class. If it's related to a particular week, go ahead and go to the discussion board for that week. I'll open up discussion boards as we go along. So discussion for week 1 is over here where you introduce yourself. Go ahead and type your information here, and I can end up responding back to you and answer questions that way. You can also email me. You can go to my email address here. It's dtaniguc@sdccd.edu. And each week I would go to the lessons area, and if you want to find out what's going on for that particular week, just look for week 1, for example, and you'll see all the material associated with this week's activity. So you'll see like the XAMPP instructions, WebDev Part 1. You'll be able to take a quiz over here, and you can end up seeing a video of what I described as WebDev Part 1 from a prior semester. I mentioned this before in other videos, but the quiz, you can take it as many times as you want. You're not penalized. In order to get 100%, you could say it's multiple choice, pretty much 5 questions, and they're all, if you take it over and over and over again, hopefully you'll get it right one of these times to get 100%. Question online is, what's the difference between WordPress.org and WordPress.com? Early in the video, I described that. WordPress.org is mainly for, let's see if I can get there. WordPress.org is for developers like us, and you'll go over here to find out more technical details about the syntax and how it's constructed. WordPress.com, on the other hand, this is for non-technical users that just say, I want to have a website, I want to have a blog. And I am technically challenged, but I know how to go ahead and type in some words so that I can make a post, or maybe upload some pictures. That's all I know how to do, but I'm using the website for all of that. So WordPress.com is for non-technical users. WordPress.org is what we're going to use as developers in order to go ahead and enhance or create plugins or design themes, or find out some information about what is the syntax for injecting a header or footer. Okay. All right. So if there's no other questions, I'm going to keep this short, but Monday nights I'm going to try to keep open for you guys to answer any questions you have. And this, again, this whole video will be uploaded to YouTube right after we leave. Okay. So if there's no questions, I'll see you next week or online. Take care.
Thanks.